Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing this morning? Come on, you can do better than that. A little bit more energy. Come on, we're going to talk about AI. So thank you all for joining us on your Sunday morning. We're going to dive into one of the most rapidly evolving sectors, artificial intelligence and machine learning. As we all know, AI and ML has already begun to reshape industries from healthcare to finance to retail to transportation and beyond. But the big question is, what's next? My name's Niamh O'Donnell. The pronunciation's a little bit different to the spelling. As you can probably tell from my somewhat exotic accent, I'm originally from Ireland. Has anyone here been to Ireland before? Please raise your hand. Great to see so many people have such good taste. Okay, so I'm the Director of Programs at Unusual Ventures. We're an early stage venture capital fund specializing in data infrastructure and application level technologies. Our managing partner and founder, John Veronis, is a professor with Andy Radcliffe at Stanford. So really delighted that the Stanford Angel and Entrepreneurs Network and Bay Area Founders Club has invited us here this afternoon. Obviously, we are joined this morning by two incredible panelists. So Ronald Ratcliffe from BlackRock, who has a wealth of experience looking at emerging market trends within this industry. And then Gloria Zhang, who is in DCM Ventures, focusing on early stage investments for transformative technologies. So we have, together we're going to talk about AI and ML and how it's evolving and what the next big opportunities are. So we're going to really jump right in. As we know, the future of AI is unfolding before us, and the next big investment opportunity may be closer than we think. I want anyone, can you raise your hand if you're an AI entrepreneur? Okay, great. Great to see we've got a great room. So Ronald, we're going to start with you. So we're going to talk about market trends and current landscape. So you're obviously focusing on these broader shifts at BlackRock. From your perspective, what are some of the near-term technological advancements in AI and ML that we should be focusing on or paying attention to? Or do you have any examples of these that we should look at?
Yeah, so great to be here from visiting. I'm in BlackRock. Our headquarters is in New York City, but I'm based here in San Francisco. So great to be in this room with everyone. And in terms of how I frame AI is, it's really one of the mega forces that is driving economic transformation. And so that's really vital. And I place that alongside, say, geopolitical fragmentation, an aging population, the digitization of finance, and the energy transition. So AI is one of those. And if you think those through, AI is a very promising one in bringing some more productivity and growth. So that's kind of the overall picture of it. And then when we look at scenarios of what's going to happen this year in 2025, and I'm fortunate to be part of, we have a group of 100 investors that get together once a year to look ahead to the future, and AI is critical in among those 5 scenarios that we lay out. AI underlies them. So it's really about, with these, the valuations that we've seen in AI, are they justified by the fundamentals? Yes or no? That puts you in a couple of different cases. And then will the productivity that we've seen in this sector, will these gains expand further and allow to help with supply constraints? So that's one thing, one aspect of it. And then the last part that's really close to my heart is, as an investor, from a systematic or quantitative orientation, we've used at BlackRock, we've used AI for several decades, but the evolution and the newer techniques are something that we can use to look at themes, and indeed we have something called the thematic robot that we can talk about in more detail if there's time, or just catch me afterwards. And it's a way of analyzing reports and conference calls and to get together themes to look at. So that's a very exciting area for us.
Kind of following up on that, we're hearing a lot about generative AI at the moment with the emergence of avatars. Where do you see these technological shifts going, or are these of interest to BlackRock or yourself either?
Yeah, so the other side that I come at is from our technology platform. And when we think about managing risk and looking out across the platform. We have over 8,000 funds, and we're trying to manage that risk. So very much so, having, instead of turning every knob, if you have an agent that can look out across those knobs, of course with human supervision and oversight, but that prospect is very important and exciting for us.
Great to hear. Gloria, I want to come to you, and obviously at DCM Ventures, you focus on early stage companies investing in transformative technologies. What are some of the cutting edge developments in AI and ML that you're most excited about, particularly that you're a data scientist by trade yourself?
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of new advancement, very exciting coming up this year. One area I've seen a lot of new entrepreneur, even professor, AI lab are moving into is the world model that can not only reflect the text generation and the reasoning, but also reflect the physics of how the real world actually interact with each other. That's one area that we are very excited about. From a data perspective, I definitely see as we are seeing a diminishing ROI on the pre-training scaling law, we see a lot of things coming from the post-training at the like the reward learning, etc. So that's area where to create more data, how to assess, evaluate those models. That's where we see a lot of interesting things coming up. And obviously, with that things moving forward to that direction, the agentic flow is also an area we are looking forward to.
And given that AI startups attracted, I'm looking at a statistic here, 18.9 billion in funding in Q4 2024. What's your take on these types of AI technologies that will drive investment going forward in 2025? Are there any areas in particular that you see will drive that disruptive innovation?
I think for early stage, robotic is definitely one area, driven by the reasoning and the world model understanding physics is one key area we're looking into. And another thing is the multimodality models. So this year, 2024, we definitely see a takeoff from text generation to voice generation. But in this year, we are looking for more ROI generating from motion generation, video generation, etc., or just some type of technology or products combine everything, assemble everything together to deliver high ROI and productivity to the customers.
So obviously we're talking a lot about the opportunities there, but obviously there's a lot of technical challenges that comes with building these AI models. What do you think are the most significant technological challenges that these companies face to reach their full potential when it comes to AI and ML? Or is it, limitations in hardware, data quality, energy, maybe even algorithmic complexity? I'll open this up to both of you.
Yeah, I think, so from a model developer perspective, the model provider or the people building the models, definitely lack of enough training data is where people see challenges because as we're moving forward to reward learning, what's the data set? How do you evaluate what's the right decision? Whether the model is doing the right thing or the wrong thing, who's gonna create the training and the data labeling for that. That's where in moving forward, we see potentially people need to do synthetic data or having more even PhD level students, PhD level researchers to generate or to label those data for training purposes. So data quality moving forward is one key challenges, and I see that's pretty much like a big thing for model providers. And from the customer side, like people utilizing models, not really building the foundation models, I think how do they choose different model in the right context? And how do they keep the model in a secure way that can go along with the company's compliance and security rules? That's a key question. At the same time, how do they keep the model inferencing costs low? Given they are doing a lot of experiment and they have this scale up, scale down request. So that's also a key challenges for people using the models.
Yeah,
like to come in on
so
this
I think I would add, we're at this build out stage where the AI infrastructure is not fully in place. So it's the data centers that need to be built out, and those require private financing. So I think that's really, being in this room here, I think it's just essential to have that financing. There's obviously not enough money with governments and debts and deficits and the limits we're at. So having that financing, capital markets, but build out and then later adoption and ultimately transformation. But we're definitely in that early stage of build out. On the data part, would definitely agree there. I think it's the history as well. So when I look at financial markets, there's relatively short history. It can be at best several, say 30 years or so, but going back would have rich data sets beyond that is tough. So then we get approach this using scenarios and simulation. That's one way to work on it. And with certain partners that we have, we can simulate different outcomes, say on the yield curve, just as an example. And then the last point relating to this responsible AI and following that framework. So we have risk modeling that we do for models prior to the existence of AI models in a large scale, but it's really you need to make some modifications to how you risk manage the models. So you certainly need to evaluate them, but then there's the prompt moderation, response moderation. You have to look at that, and then the telemetry as well and surveillance of the models that are as it goes in real time. So those are some of the foundations, and I think having those in place is extremely important.
You've talked a little bit there about the risk modeling and your role, Ronald, and your focus on integration of AI in portfolio analysis and risk management. How do you see AI technologies transforming tools and methodologies used for stress testing this portfolio construction?
Yeah, so having taking a co-pilot approach to the platform is really been very important. So if you think about there being risk management tools that we have in place, portfolio analysis tools, but they can be difficult to access for people that haven't worked with them for a while. And AI has the potential, and I've seen it with my own eyes and as a practitioner, to really democratize the access to understanding how the risk models work. And then, so that's from a help chat perspective. And then in a deeper way of really talking to the model and being able to ask in a natural language, to ask questions about what's the risk, what's my portfolio, what's my sector exposure, and having interactive conversation with the model is just through AI has been something that's happened in very recently. It's very important.
So you've both mentioned about data labeling and quality data, and obviously that's one of the key challenges in AI development is ensuring models are trained on high quality, accurately labeled data. Actually at Unusual Ventures, we have a portfolio company called HumanSignal, which is leveraging human feedback to optimize data labeling workflows. So their platform combines manual and automated labeling, allowing efficient and accurate data annotation across various data types and formats. I'd like to hear from both of you. What do you see the evolution of data labeling and data annotation technologies like HumanSignals playing a role when it comes to the broader AI/ML ecosystem? Or do you think this will have the ability to accelerate model training going forward?
Yeah, I briefly mentioned before, we definitely see this as a big area coming up. And I would say few years ago, like when I was working as a machine learning engineer, the data labeling is quite straightforward, how we create features for machine learning algorithms, and is quite like a static way of people just categorize different things. Well, there are some algorithms to make those labeling different, but you just consider one data input and one data output. But right now, we see more complexity because while we are training the model, like the post-training, the reasoning, reward learning, like you actually need to create multimodality model, especially, for example, think of the autonomous driving cases. You not only need to understand what's written on the street sign, understand the human, understand the cars. You also need to understand the lanes and the weather, etc. So also potentially sound. So that multimodality and how you label the data is really the critical component of how your autonomous driving algorithm or your agent algorithm can perform. It's really critical, like the data quality, I would say, is the next biggest driver to our model's capability coming up. So how you do that data labeling in a more complicated ways. Sometimes, if you want to say, another example we have is generative AI. When we do model generation for videos, how you generate video with consistency, how you generate the facial expression, how you generate the crease of your product, of your clothes, all of those things have some particular trick and know-how in terms of how you label data in a different way. And that requires a lot of researchers' work in the lab, that people accumulated those know-how and you keep iterating. And for people start to accumulate those know-how earlier, actually they have an early mover advantage on keep building up on top of that.
I want to take advantage of the fact that you're bringing up generative AI, and obviously it's maturing and moving into more agent-based systems at the moment that emphasize deeper reasoning capabilities. So we're seeing that shift away from purely data-driven reactive models to more proactive, complex problem-solving applications. How do you think of this evolution in AI as influencing early-stage investing strategies, Gloria? I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of early stage companies are moving from the co-pilot stage, like assisting human, to the semi-autonomous agent space. Eventually, I know everyone is looking for autonomous agent, as the agent per our definitions. But at this point, we see still there's a combination of human in the loop, human delivering some feedback to how the agent react, and then working together with the agent to generate the outcome. So I think this is the stage we see the customers, enterprise customers, even professional customers, seeing the most ROI. Eventually, we see maybe second half of this year, potentially there are some early signal of the autonomous agent. But we already see early signs like from coding space, like Cursor, GitHub Copilot has been doing really well, helping people with no coding experiences to code. In terms of the more enterprise use cases, which have higher threshold to accept the agent outcomes, we see that's probably coming up in the second half of this year.
And Ronald, when it comes to the maturation of generative AI, do you think that there's going to be more consolidation in the space with major players like OpenAI and Google kind of setting the bar for what's possible? Or do you think a lot of the innovation is going to be driven by startups like those in the room here today?
Yeah, so the company I worked at was a startup back in the 80s. So you know, I think there's always room and an important role for startups. And I think the key part in my mind is talent. So talent can be in smaller companies and larger companies, and tends to be dispersed. And I think that's the most important element. And I think there's plenty of room to go, since we are at this build-out stage for AI that will involve companies at various sizes. Absolutely.
And then I suppose, given the importance of deeper reasoning in AI, do you see any specific opportunities for startups in the space when it comes to scaling these advanced AI models? I can open that up to both of you, whoever wants to come in on that one. So like, how can early stage companies ensure they're building the right infrastructure and tools to support these sophisticated systems, would you say? You're an engineer by trade. So.
I'd say, so this is like a building the shovel instead of finding the gold themselves. I think over the past 2 years, I see the infrastructure or the developer tool has been evolving a lot, which is really, in my view, driven by the end use case. Because how people use AI, what AI can deliver, what outcome AI can deliver has drastically changed. Before, it was people use AI to prototype and then they create the final product. But as everyone moving forward to just having AI to create the end outcome and the final deliverables, the infrastructure will change accordingly. So I'd recommend all the people building the infrastructure and the developer tool really focusing on the end user and product perspective, what's really driving a real tangible ROI, and build infrastructure to support that direction.
Thanks for that, Gloria. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of breakthroughs in AI, such as GPT-4 level LLMs. Could you give an example of an AI breakthrough, either in development or emerging, that you find particularly exciting?
Yeah, one thing I find super interesting is the potential disruption of a game engine. To my earlier point, as model moving forward to multimodality and world model, I've started to see a lot of companies try to build game frame by frame from images without an underlying game engine, without a software behind. There's a company called Discard. I find it very interesting. Recommend everyone to try. You can try out their game, like a Minecraft experiences without game engine directly on the web browser. And I think that's actually signal a disruption of a lot of build up of the potential software. Like similarly, like I think SaaS is under many SaaS company, they are trying to pivot to more agent because the SaaS, many traditional SaaS company is actually building on top of a database and try to define a process. But with agent, actually the process can be automated by AI. So how in this new era, how do you build a software that potentially without process, just with AI automated and with human as the final approver? That's something also very interesting to us.
Coming to the end of the session, and obviously you've got 500 people in the room, many of those which are AI entrepreneurs and founders. Do you have any advice for how they can cut through the noise and grab investor attention as they're going out to fundraise?
I mean, I think taking the couple themes that resonate with me are really taking advantage of this pivotal moment for AI to really seize it as a way to help with the workplace efficiency. So I think that was mentioned earlier by James DaCosta. That was a great point. And then secondly, just being aware of integrating the human element into AI. So that's something that we're always looking for, that control part. And then the third part is having those risk controls and building that into what you're making in AI. So having the systems to have the oversight. So AI done in a responsible way.
Yeah, I think for early stage investing, especially on pre-seed seed stage, we really looking at the personality of the founders and the founder market match, founder market fit. So I think for early stage founders, we're really looking for founder with strong grit to push things through, even under a lot of competition, under the very chaotic uncertainty situations. Another thing we look at is founder with open mind. Because of the technology has been changing so fast, the dynamic of the market also changed a lot. So we look for founder really have an open mind at certain point, know what's the right time to push through, what's the right time to pivot. And other than that, I think on a technical perspective, I think for consumer application builders, we are looking for founders really having a taste and really knowing try to experiment what's going beyond the ChatGPT experiences, like the chatbot experiences. How do you incorporate all different multimodality capabilities into your product to create this entertaining experience to customers? And on the software B2B side, I think I recommend we focus on certain niche area that you have a strong conviction and a strong experience to go to market. given the challenges, like there are so many different startups in one area, like 30 startups might building the same thing. I think really pick the right battle is where we recommend the startup founders to do.
Ronald, Gloria, this has been incredible. I wish I could pick your brains a little bit longer. To all the founders in the room, I encourage you to keep the AI and ML conversation open and going. And I'd love to connect with anyone who's interested in raising pre-seed, seed, or Series A funding off the back of this conversation. So thanks for listening to us and taking the time.